Doodlebud here. Today I am going to tell you what I feel is the best workhorse pen in the business. Let's just get started. Now, before I tell you which is my favorite workhorse pen, we have to define what is a workhorse pen. A workhorse pen obviously is one that is going to work just by definition. Now here's an example. This is my Montblanc 149. Absolutely love this pen. So long as there's ink in it, it will write. It writes wonderfully. This nib I custom ground, so it's exactly the way I like. I love the size of the pen. I love the shape of the pen, like the look of the pen. Large ink capacity. It's piston filler, has a nice handy dandy little ink window. Beautiful nib to look at, and it's super reliable. Now, why isn't this my favorite workhorse pen? Simply because this isn't one I'm just going to chuck into my bag. It's an expensive pen. I got a fantastic deal on mine, but even with that fantastic deal, this isn't so much of a rough and rugged tumble pen that you're comfortable just taking with you everywhere. I will, if I put it in a case, I will use this as an everyday carry pen for sometimes several months at a time, but it does have to be in a case. I would never clip it on the outside of a notebook. So that's why this one falls short of being a great workhorse pen. Now, if you look a couple spots over, we have this pen, which is the Jinhao X159, which surprisingly, not surprisingly, looks just like a Montblanc 149. So it has a lot of the things I just mentioned. This one actually is quite reliable well. It seals well. It's simple to use. It's cheap, so you're not so much too worried if something happens to it. I have no problem chucking this in my bag, which I do. The ink capacity isn't as large. It's just a standard converter that's on here. Maybe a little more ink capacity would be nice on a workhorse pen. You don't have to fill it quite as much. And also it's, I think a few too many turns for my preference to use so constantly. We're talking 2 and change. Montblanc is only 1, but that's only 2 and change. Now an alternative could be the Jinhao 9019. Very similar pen. It's actually even a little bit bigger, and it has a much larger ink capacity. They have a special converter in here that holds a ton of ink. So fantastic idea. Rough and tumble as well, but again, just for my likings, I think as everyday, even though I like my big pens, I find this one to be just a little bit too big, and also quite a few turns for the cap. More than just a quick pull it out, use it all the time type pen. So not going to make my favorite workhorse pen. Now, while these pens here are beautiful to look at, they write wonderfully, they seal nicely, all those great things, these are not going to be workhorse pens. They will always be inside of a case. Here is a possible candidate right down here. So this is the Pilot Custom 823, super popular, large ink capacity. This thing is fantastic. It is fewer turns. 1 3/4. So that's pretty darn good for it's reasonably quick to uncap it. Away you go. Posts nicely, writes wonderfully, all that stuff. Built extremely well. This one, yeah, it has got a few scratches on it, if you can see those there. The pen still functions. It's still surviving. It's okay. But on nice pens like this, you sort of want to avoid those. Here is another pen that could easily make a favorite workhorse pen. This is the Diplomat Excellence A2. Has a nice German springy clip on there. I absolutely love that clip. This pen has so many great details. It looks beautiful, nice weight. Just the aesthetics alone, it's a classy looking pen. Great color options. Little snap cap, slippy snap. And it's done perfectly. It also posts wonderfully. It's probably a little too heavy for some folks, but for me it's fine. And this video is my favorite workhorse pen, not your favorite workhorse pen. But that being said, it's not my favorite workhorse pen. Again, a little too fancy to chuck into a bag. Cartridge converter, which is great actually. That could be a benefit. That for some folks watching this, that could be a must. It has to be a cartridge converter, because whatever, even if you're traveling, you can pick up just cartridges at a lot of places, or just bring a pocket full of cartridges with you, and you don't have to worry about running out of ink or finding ink. So for some, you might want to go for cartridge converter for your workhorse, but again, I wouldn't just chuck this into a bag. So which pen is it? Which is my absolute favorite workhorse pen? It's the one that I usually have always in this case. It was actually on the table. I didn't notice that in the middle of the video, and I was going to reveal it telling you it's always in this case. You already seen it, but it's right here, and it is always in this case. My Lamy 2000. Oh, by the way, someone's going to ask, what case is that? I like that. This is the case. I still can't say the name. Girologio? I think that's how you say it. I've had this one absolutely forever. 2-pen case, lovely leather, magnetic flap, all that good stuff. I've seen pictures of them recently. It looks like they made them a little differently, as in they made them cheaper and they don't look as good. So buyer beware if you're getting a new one. I hope they're still looking like this, but I've seen pictures, at least batches, where they looked kind of garbage. Back to the pen, Lamy 2000. Why am I picking this one? Well, let's look at mine. It's got some battle scars on it. You can see here on the clip, it's almost like a stone wash they do, which is smart for an everyday kind of workhorse pen. Make it like kind of pre-weathered a bit. And so it's got some little dings and scratches, no damage, no gouges. Everything holds up. Same thing here on the barrel, made of Macrolon, which is quite a strong material. Don't go throwing this on the ground or trying to bend it. You can bend it and break it and snap it. Absolutely, it's not impervious to damage, most like other things. But this thing, yeah, have I chucked this into my bag? Not being in that pen case, absolutely. I've chucked it into bags tons of time. I've carried it on the outside of notebooks. It is a fantastic workhorse pen. It has that slip cap, and it has the beautiful little snap. One of the best snap caps that there is on a pen. Absolutely fantastic. I like how it feels in the hand. I like how it looks. There's some people that just hate this pen with a passion, by the way. So that's fine. Like I said, it's my favorite workhorse pen. But I think for a lot of folks who have them that do enjoy them, it's probably one of their favorites as well. It always writes. If there's ink in it, it's going to come out of that nib no matter what. And a nice little bonus here with it is it has an ink window, and it's telling me actually it's time for a refill, which I always use. Lately I've been using Noodler's Black as a complement on this pen. It's great. It works, you know, piston fill, all these beautiful machining details and assembly details. This video that I did one night, I did like a super engineering nerdy pen, video on this pen. Like I nerded out. I didn't plan it. I was cleaning the pen, just looking at it, appreciating all these details I hadn't before, decided to make a video, and people went nuts for it. And that was the video that made me realize, oh, you guys want me to talk about all the super deep details that I see that I never talk about? So I've been doing that from ever since I did my mega nerd out on the Lamy 2000. There's lots to nerd out on, so if you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link down there in the description. But this pen just works all the time. That's what I want. The nib's ready to go. Feels great in the hand. You can use it posted, unposted. The clip is absolutely fantastic. Capping is fantastic. Ink window. Yeah, to me, there's nothing I would change on the pen whatsoever. And it's mega reliable and rough and tumble. Chuck it around. Don't have to worry about scratching the precious resin. You can, you know, this one's meant to go out there and get some battle wounds. Before I shut the video down, I'm going to quickly show you how mine writes. Beware though, if you don't have one of these, and I didn't know this from the get-go, the nibs on these are different. The grind is a little bit different. When I first got the pen, I ordered an extra fine. Now, again, I think mine was an anomaly. They write a little bit wider. Mine was extremely wide. Wrote almost as a medium. I even ranted about it on a video because I love the pen so much, but it just was not the right nib for me. I was disappointed that my extra fine was nothing like I expected. But I remedied the problem. I ground that nib. If you want to see how I did that, I have a video. So I took it to an extra fine cursive italic, and then I guess it was around the start of the year, a viewer reached out who happens to live extremely close and gifted me their fine nib off their Lamy 2000 that got damaged, got repaired, but just was never the same. So they said, they just love the pen. The nib isn't quite what they wanted. So they ordered a new one, and this thing was just sitting around, didn't know what to do with it. So they offered it up to me. I took advantage of that, and I ground it to an Architect nib. So now this is a fine Architect. I'm going to show you how it looks. Again, I did a video on that, and it writes absolutely perfect. For me, that's the absolute best grind for this pen for my use, the way I use it. So I'm going to show you how it works. I actually just touched it up again the other night. There was a tiny little stroke that could be slightly better. And so I spent another kind of 10 minutes on this nib, perfecting it just to be exactly the way I want it. A cool thing though, there is a bunch of other nib options. They even have obliques on here. I don't care for the way those obliques write. They're very nice and smooth and all this great stuff, but that's not the way I want an oblique to write. But there are lots of nib options, which is a nice feature of the pen as well. So let's write with it, and I'll end it off there. I'm just using some decent fountain pen paper, but it's cheaper stuff. It does bleed through and feather. Can't quite handle super wet, juicy pens, but you don't always have the luxury of using super high grade paper with fountain pens, depending what you're doing. How I use this the most, I would say, is on client meetings when I'm meeting them in person and I'm taking notes, I'm drawing things out for them, or when I'm on calls, especially if someone calls me really quick and I need to write something down. I can find this pen, pop it off one hand, ready to go, and just that's how I use this pen. Like, just it is ready to go. And so that's how I'm using the pen the most, is at work, on meetings, if I'm at conferences. That's how I'm using this pen, and usually it's printing. That's where we will leave it. Lamy 2000 for me is the best Workhorse fountain pen. You know what's not the best Workhorse phone for recording videos? This one right here. Focus went out on this one. Tried it again. Then the white balance went out. I forgot to hit record. And then finally on the fourth time of me writing that down, the phone worked. So if you want to play along at home, let us know down there in the comments. What would you pick? For if you can only pick one, what is your absolute best, your favorite Workhorse fountain pen? Love to hear from you down there. I'll have some other links and discount codes, all that stuff down in the description. If you're clicking around, it'd be a cool thing if you hit subscribe, hit a thumbs up. There's even a join button. You can learn about memberships. Until then, we'll catch you next time.